Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself right now. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll start tomorrow"? How many times have you sat in silence, staring at the ceiling, knowing exactly what you need to do, but doing nothing? You call it laziness. Everyone around you calls it laziness. But what if it was never laziness at all? What if the real reason you're not moving forward is something much deeper, much darker, and much more honest than that? Stay with me, because this story might change the way you see yourself forever. His name was Aryan, 24 years old, smart, sensitive, full of ideas. He wasn't the kind of person who didn't have dreams. He had too many. Every night before sleeping, he would imagine his life. A better job, a stronger version of himself. A life that actually felt like his. He'd open his laptop, pull up a course he always wanted to finish, or a business idea he'd written down 3 months ago. And then, he'd close it. He'd tell himself, "Not tonight. I'm tired." And he'd scroll his phone for 2 more hours. This had been happening for almost 2 years. His friends were moving forward, getting promotions, building things, taking risks. And Aryan? Aryan was still in the same room. Same routine, same excuses, same heaviness in his chest every morning when he woke up. From the outside, people would say, "That boy is just lazy." But his mother, she saw something different. She never said it out loud. But sometimes, late at night, she'd look at him and think, "My son is not lazy. My son is scared." She was right. One evening, Aryan's old school friend called him. Rahul, same background, same city, same broken family, same small beginning. But Rahul had just started his own small business. Nothing huge, just a small step. But it was his step. Aryan congratulated him, smiled on the phone, said all the right things, and then he hung up and sat quietly in his room and felt something he didn't expect. Not happiness for his friend. Shame. Deep, burning shame. Because he knew that he was just as capable. Maybe even more. He had the ideas. He had the knowledge. He had read the books, watched the videos, made the plans. So why wasn't he moving? That night, he couldn't sleep. He lay there in the dark, and for the first time in a long time, he asked himself a real question. Why am I actually not doing this? Not the easy answer. Not "I'm tired" or "the time isn't right." The real answer. And somewhere deep in his chest, something whispered back. Because what if you try, and you're still not enough? He felt his throat tighten. There it was. The truth he had been running from for 2 years. The next morning, Aryan went for a walk. He didn't know why. He just needed air. He ended up in a small park near his house. Almost empty. Just an old man sitting on a bench, feeding pigeons. Aryan sat down nearby. After a long silence, the old man spoke, without even looking at him. "You look like someone who's been arguing with himself for a long time." Aryan looked up, surprised. "How did you know?" The old man smiled softly. "Because I sat on this same bench 20 years ago. Same face, same eyes." He paused. "You know what the problem is with people like us?" Aryan waited. "We don't fear failure," the old man said quietly. "We fear success." Aryan frowned. "That doesn't make sense." The old man picked up a small stone from the ground and held it gently. "If you fail, nothing changes. You stay the same. And staying the same is comfortable. You already know how to survive here." He turned to Aryan now. Eyes calm, voice steady. "But if you succeed, everything changes. Your habits, your relationships, your identity, the version of you that you know right now, disappears. He placed the stone in Aryan's hand, and that terrifies people more than failure ever could. Aryan looked down at the stone in his palm. Small, ordinary, heavy in a way he didn't expect, and something inside him cracked open. He walked home slowly, and he thought about every time he had stopped himself, every course left unfinished, every idea left in a notebook, every morning alarm ignored. He used to think he was protecting himself from failure, but now he saw the truth. He was protecting a version of himself that he had outgrown, a version that was safe, known, predictable, and that version was terrified of being replaced, because becoming better meant letting go of the excuses, letting go of the comfort, letting go of the identity that said, "I'm the one who almost made it." That identity was comfortable, even if it was suffocating. Aryan sat down at his desk. He opened his laptop. No music, no motivation video, no perfect morning routine, just him and the work. His hands were shaking slightly, not because he was nervous about failing, but because some part of him knew this time he wouldn't stop. And that was the most terrifying and beautiful thing he had ever felt. Here is what nobody tells you. Laziness is rarely just laziness. Underneath it, there's almost always fear. Fear that if you try your best and it's still not enough, then who are you? Fear that if you change and grow, the people around you won't recognize you anymore. Fear that the new version of you will make the old version look foolish, so your mind protects you. It creates fog, tiredness, distraction, doubt. It makes you scroll instead of work, sleep instead of create, watch instead of build. Not because you are weak, but because your mind thinks it's keeping you safe. The real work is not discipline. The real work is looking at that fear directly, calling it by its real name, because the moment you name it, it loses its power over you. You are not lazy. You are someone who has been standing at the door of a better life, afraid to walk through it. The door is still there. It always has been. Aryan didn't transform overnight. There was no dramatic moment, no sudden explosion of motivation, but something had shifted quietly inside him, like a small flame that had finally found shelter from the wind. He started small. One task, 1 hour, one honest day. Some days were hard. Some days he still felt the pull of old habits, but now, when that voice inside whispered, "Stop, rest, this is too much," he recognized it. He would look at it calmly and say, "I see you, but you are not the truth," and he would keep going. Months later, Aryan passed by that same bench in the park. The old man wasn't there, but the bench was empty and quiet, and Aryan sat down for a moment. He looked at his hands, the same hands that used to close the laptop every night, and he smiled, not because he had made it, but because he had finally begun. And maybe that's all any of us need. Not the perfect moment, not the perfect plan, not the perfect version of ourselves, just the courage to begin, even while afraid, even while uncertain, even while shaking, because the life you're avoiding is the life you actually want, and the only thing standing between you and it is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't. Change the story. If this story touched something inside you, like, share, and subscribe to the Wordy Tales. Every week, we bring you stories that don't just motivate you, they show you the truth about yourself.